There's a power within you. It lifts your life to its highest level. It brings success, companionship, happiness, health, and peace of mind. As you tap into this power, it will respond to you because this power is within you. And that's why spirituality rocks. I'm your host, the Reverend Dr. Janine H. Burns, and I am delighted to bring you another incredible show. And today we're talking about intuition. We're talking about the power that is within you. Spirituality Rock teaches practical spirituality. We teach that the presence and power of God is within you. Whatever you choose to call it, God, spirit, love, infinite intelligence, seeks to express in you, through you, and as you. And that your thoughts will create your experience according to the strength and the desire contained within the thoughts. And we teach that we co-create with God. We believe in an abundant, unlimited universe, and we believe that your divine birthright is to experience peace, ease, joy, love, and happiness. And that's the truth. So, I want to just do a little business. I have these delightful little affirmation cards that we've put together to help people learn about the show. On the back are positive statements of truth. If you just send us a self-addressed stamped envelope to Post Office Box 472 in Woodbury, New York, we will send you these as no charge, as a gift, because it's a spiritual principle you must give to receive. The world teaches you that you receive, then you give, but the spiritual principle is that you give, then you receive. So we're happy to give these to you. Also, there's a CD of spiritual jingles, Tunes for Transformation. This is my CD that I put together when I used to be the leader of a spiritual community. I would teach spiritual ideas, and to help people remember them, I put them to music. And it's a fun CD. I get a lot of kudos on this. So you just send a $10 donation to the Guiding Light Foundation, Post Office Box 472. We are happy to send this to you as well for that donation. And so, intuition. Intuition we're defining today as the ability to know with the process of reasoning. And we're going to get that in just a little while, because we have on Skype with us Dr. Pat Baccili. And Dr. Pat Baccili is just amazing. She does transformation talk radio, so we're going to learn about her. But before we get to that, in the studio we have a dear friend of mine, and that is the Reverend Saba Mchunguzi. He is from the Unity Church of Healing Light. That is in Huntington, Long Island, New York. Welcome to the show.
Yes, great to be here, as always.
Thank you. Good to have you back. And this is the Rev.Margaret Palagye. And the Rev.Margaret Palagye is down in southern New Jersey, and she is with the Joyful Living Spiritual Center.
Joyful Gathering.
Oh, Joyful Gathering, not Joyful Living, Joyful Gathering. Okay, the Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center.
That's correct.
Welcome to Spirituality Rock.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what I like to do is, the beginning of the show, is ask what people have been focusing on lately, because I think that inspires the audience to take a look at where they are in their lives. So, Margaret, may I call you Margaret?
Of course you may.
Thank you. Okay, tell me, what have you been focusing upon lately?
Well, the past couple of weeks, what I've chosen to focus on is patience.
Patience.
Patience, because what I have found in my impatient life is that I am blocking the flow of good with my impatience. So I am consciously sitting back, listening more, and being patient with myself.
How does that show up, patience with yourself? What does that mean?
Patience with myself is not always to be in that rush, to push, always pushing to get things done. So it really feels so much better when I can consciously remember to be peaceful and to settle into that place of no chaos, in patience. There is only peace.
Now for me, when you said that, patience with yourself, I think more of being gentle on myself and my own mind, because sometimes I can be so critical of myself. Right. You know, well, does that inspirational talk I just give? Yeah, it was good, but was it good enough? Or, you know, oh my goodness, I forgot to say that. How could I do that? And so tell me about being patient with yourself mentally. What is that?
So for me, it's a little different than that, because I'm anyone that knows me knows that I'm a person of action.
Yes, you are.
Which is a good thing, but sometimes I push to get things accomplished. And I have found by practicing this principle of patience that things flow so much easily. I don't have to make things happen. And if they don't happen, I'm okay with that also.
A a while back, and Reverend Saba, you were on that show, in fact, and we had Dr. Bonnie Barnard, and she wrote that book, Qualities of God, Qualities of Being. And so my guess is that the quality of God that would be associated with what you're speaking of, patience, would be order.
It would be divine order, and it would be peace, because there's a lot of peace that comes with patience. A lot of self-peace. I feel more peaceful.
That had to take a while, because if you're a person who's an action-oriented and you're moving and everything, for you to have patience to go with peace, I can't imagine that was that easy to do.
It's not, and I have a couple of people, if he's watching, the president of our board of trustees, that is reminding me when I might seem to forget, patience.
He's supporting you in
patience. In fact, he's given me the 2 P's, patience and pushy. So I'm reminded by others, and I love that. I love that. You know, because sometimes we get caught up in the rush of life. There's so much going on. So it's wonderful, and it's great to grow and expand. So for me, not pushing and being patient is so expansive.
Okay, and you know, Reverend Saba, I'd like you to comment on this too, because it seems to me that patience also has a lot to do with stepping out of judgment.
Most definitely. Because many times we think very critically, as you were saying, of ourselves, and we judge ourselves, and we judge other people as well.
We judge others, yeah.
Most definitely. So in not doing that, then we are patient with others, patient with their human frailties, and patient with our own, seeming imperfections and so on. So that patience gives us a sense of ease, and we can say, well, it's okay that everything didn't work out perfectly, or it's okay that this thing didn't, happen the way I thought it would. Well, because we know the next time we'll try harder, the next time we'll do a little better, but we know that we, and life is a matter of progress. There are progressive steps that we take and that everyone takes in their own spiritual evolution and their own life's path.
Right. A natural unfoldment.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's, there's a spiritual unfoldment that takes place, and it's a part of the divine cycle. Now, if I may, the spiritual idea that I've been focusing on is affirmative prayer, which kind of ties into this, because you talk about patience. Well, it's a matter of when we desire things and we pray for things, sometimes we get impatient with the universe because we think the universe is taking too long to bring us that which we desire, that which we're praying for, when in reality it could be that we are praying the wrong way. We could be begging or beseeching or even trying to make a bargain with God. Well, God, if you grant me this prayer, then I'll stop doing so-and-so. Or, I won't do such and such ever again if you give me this one prayer or if you answer this one prayer. So sometimes we try and make a bargain with God, or we plead and we say, God, please, please, please do this for me, without understanding the nature of God. The nature of God is absolute good. So God, the universe, our higher power, if you will, wants to bless us, wants to grant us all of the good that we desire, and then some. That's its nature. So for us, in terms of prayer, when we pray affirmatively, also known as positive prayer, then what we are doing, we are praying knowing that the universe already has provided that which we desire, and the universe is waiting for us to move our human selves and the limitations in our consciousness, move that out of the way so that the natural flow can take place, the natural ebb and flow of the universe.
Limitations in consciousness. Now, I know consciousness means our awareness.
Yes.
What do you mean when you say limitations in consciousness?
Well, many times people say, well, I'm too old for such and such. Or they say, well, I don't make a whole lot of money in my job, so therefore I'm never going to get to a certain point.
Or I don't have the capabilities to do something.
Yes, I don't have the right education, or I don't have the right contacts. So we look at and we create in our consciousness limitations, as opposed to realizing in our consciousness, in the depths of our being, that we are one with the universe. We are one with that good that we desire. And whatever it is that we need, we already have. See, affirmative prayer also talks about praying in the now.
Okay.
In spirit, there's no past, present, and future. There's only now. So we don't pray and say, well, God, one of these days I want to receive such and such. We affirm that we already have it right now. We're already healthy. We already have harmonious relationships with people. We already have the abundance that we desire. And we already have it. We know that it exists in spirit. So it's really a matter of us connecting our mind, our awareness with spirit, and then it will manifest in our world.
So aligning then.
Yes, aligning, attuning, synchronizing our conscious mental thoughts with the truth of our being, with the truth of the universe.
Well, then that seems to me then that we need to start by defining what the universe is, defining what God is. And in New Thought, we do not teach that God is an anthropomorphic being where we beg, cajole, and plead, like you said before. And so we need to redefine God. And now, in science, there's quantum physics, there's so many things that are going on where we're understanding that there is one presence and power. And in New Thought, we say God, the good, omnipotent, omniscient, omni-action. Did I leave one out?
Omnipresent.
And omnipresent.
Yes.
Thanks. I just wanted to see if you were listening.
Yes,
Just want to see if you were listening. And omnipresent, so everywhere present. Yeah. Well, I just came back from the International New Thought Alliance, and creative living was the conference theme. And you made me think of this because I was one of the speakers, so I had to give a talk. And I was thinking, creative living? I'm not creative. I'm not that creative. And then, but I was limiting myself because I was thinking, well, you need to be creative. You need to be a chef, or you need to be an author, or you need to be an artist. You need this or that. And then, I had a party recently in my home, and you came. And I really became aware that I'm very creative when it comes to color.
Yes.
And I'm creative when it comes to, putting things together or doing styling. And that's a different kind of creative. And I felt so good about that when I was able to redefine what that meant.
Good.
And I think there's so many things when it comes to spirituality that we need to redefine. Not only redefine God, but redefine our relationship to God and understand about the power expressing through us and as us.
I was going to just add to your creativity what most people, and I hear this a lot from people, what they don't realize is we are creating our lives. We are creating all of our experiences, our responses to experiences. So we are by nature creative. And we talk about God being this creative power because it has created all that is, was, and ever shall be.
Absolutely.
And so then we are created out of the nature of this one power. Then our true essence, our real reality is creativity.
Right, that is our basic nature, creativity, but it shows up in so very many ways. And we need not to limit it. Yeah. Well, fantastic. So, I would like everybody to not go too far, because when we come back after this brief commercial break, we are going to talk about intuition. We're talking about the ability to know without the process of reasoning, your inner guidance system. So we'll stay tuned, and we'll be back with more of Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
My name is Dr. Robert Brevard. I'm here for Multi-Medicine in Westbury, New York. We're located at 1065 Old Country Road, Suite 214. Been here for about 15 years. The practice has medical doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists, We also do pain management, and we have orthopedists on staff. Here at Advanced Multi-Medicine Rehabilitation, we've got physical therapists on staff who treat an array of conditions, from neck pain to back pain, shoulder pain. We treat carpal tunnel. We treat a lot of car accident patients, slip and falls. We treat patients with knee injuries, with ankle injuries. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We've been here for over 15 years. Vast array of diagnostic testing, from x-rays to EMGs. What is an EMG? It's a diagnostic test that allows a doctor to determine where the pinched nerve is. Cora is a physical therapist at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. She's working on Stephanie, who was involved recently in an automobile accident. Stephanie has tight thoracic and cervical musculature, and Cora is doing some myofascial release work and some therapeutic stretching, doing it to help her with her pain. Vicky is also a patient here at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. Vicky is now working her leg muscles, specifically her quadricep muscles, trying to strengthen them after an injury she sustained. If you find yourself in need of any type of physical therapy, please don't hesitate to call Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation, located in Westbury, New York, in Suite 214. Phone number is 516-334-7000, or find us on our website at advancedmultimedicine.com.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, and today we're talking about intuition. We are describing it as the ability to know without the process of reasoning. In the studio, I have with me Reverend Saba Mchunguzi, and he is from the Unity Church of Healing Light. That's in Huntington, Long Island, New York, on the North Shore. And we have from Southern New Jersey, the Rev.Margaret Palagye from the Joyful Living Spiritual
Joyful gathering.
Gathering.
Please.
But we live joyfully too.
The Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center. I don't know, I just have joyful living in my brain. Okay, Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center. And so you can check out Margaret at joyfulgathering.org.
Yeah, that's right.
Joyful Gathering. And Saba you can check out at unityhuntingtonnewyork.org.
unityhuntingtonny.org.
Thank you. Unity Huntington, it's on the screen,
NY.
don't worry. Okay, it's all good. So, I'd like to introduce to you both and to the studio audience our Skype guests. Welcome to the show, Dr. Pat Basile.
Well, thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here. What a great show. I mean, I've just been sitting here in awe and almost forgot that I was actually part of this. So I'm really excited to be here.
Well, that's very cool. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Pat is the host of the Dr. Pat Show, the talk Radio to Thrive By. She's a psychologist, so she obviously well-credentialed, knows what she's talking about. But what she started just a couple of years ago is Transformation Talk Radio, where she's gathered a network of people to teach and to inspire in the field of self-actualization and transformation. So that's really, gosh, you're a visionary. I love a visionary.
Yeah, I think I'm a little intuitive.
You're a little intuitive. Okay, pun intended, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about, and I want to start with Reverend Saba, the ability to know without the process of reasoning. Talk a little about intuition. We're going to throw it to Rev.Margaret. I'm going to jump in, and then we're going to go with Dr. Pat.
Well, reasoning, I'll start from there.
Okay.
Reasoning is an act of the conscious phase of mind. We reason, we analyze, we figure things out, we try and discern different things. But when we know something without reasoning, without analyzing it, when something just comes to us, when we get a burst of insight or we say, realization, then that is that intuition. It's also called the still small voice. There's that something within us that knows. It just knows. It doesn't have to figure out, doesn't have to analyze, doesn't have to ask anybody any questions, it just knows. It knows that it knows, and that knowing comes from God, comes from that divine presence within each and every single one of us, and everyone has intuition. It's not just, we use the term women's intuition, but men have intuition too. So everyone, children, everyone has that spark of divinity and has that insight, that intuition within them, which is the divine ideas, it's the divine inspiration, it's the awareness of something greater than that which is in the world around us, the world of effects, the world of the five senses.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Very well put. Yeah, that still small voice within us, the whole idea of really knowing that and getting in touch with that, I think, takes a real conscious decision, a choice to listen and to really know what this is, because we have the multiple voices going on at the same time. And we can get to this intuitive self, the still small voice, which might not be a voice. It might be a pull. It might be a feeling. I personally hear these voices, and we have to be careful with that. Which voice are we really hearing? So through meditation, through positive prayer, and through maybe being out in nature, a fabulous way of really connecting with all that is being in touch with nature, being outside, and just sitting in the stillness, the quiet. We can get all these messages, these intuitive. I have made the biggest decisions in my life based on this pull and kept my brain intelligence out of it and followed, as we discussed earlier, that solar plex, that gut intelligence.
So you're calling it a pull, because at first you said you hear voices. You called it a pull.
Oh, yes, it's both. It's all of it. And it's different for different people, and it's different for me at different times in my life. Sometimes I'll be sitting there in meditation or taking a shower, and I'll get this clear message, and it's a voice. But my biggest changes in my life have been this. I feel like I was pulled out of my physical body and my mind, which might doubt, that mind chatter that we have. We call it the ego. We call it all these different names. It can't get in the way of stopping me, because this pull is so much more powerful than anything that my belief system, which is my ego, might be telling me.
Right. Well, I call it your inner guidance system.
Yeah.
That's what works for me, is your inner guidance system. And when you just said in the shower, it reminded me of last year I was working hospice with a young woman. She was actually been one of my students, and her mom was in hospice, and she called me to come join them. And we had worked with her for a day, and the lady was not responding. And I came home and I took a shower, and while I was in the shower, I heard the voice say, "Sing to her, sing to her, sing to her." And don't you know, the next day I went and I said, "Hi, it's Reverend Janine. We're here with your daughter. How are you today? So-and-so." And don't you know, her eyes went boom. And she had not been conscious for days. Her eyes opened up. And that was my intuition
Yeah.
guiding me on how to speak with her. So that I thought that was really, really cool. But I'm glad you brought up the point that it can show up in many ways. And I think it's our inner guidance system. I tell people to take a gut check. Stop. What is your gut telling you? And it's never wrong. It's never wrong. And so, Dr. Pat, how would you define intuition?
Well, one of the things I love is talking about this. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples from my own life. It's the thought you have yet to have. It's, one of the most valuable things that we could possibly believe. And I think Einstein said the only real valuable thing that we have is intuition. It is the notion of the life that we have yet to become. But, let me give you an example, because I love real practical things. The reason I'm actually sitting here and talking with you all is because I had an intuitive hit. Now, here's what it is. About 11 years ago, I transposed numbers. That's what I do. I'm what you call learning different.
You do what? You transposed?
Transpose numbers.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
masterful at it. Yeah, my accountant hates it, but I'm good at it. And I transposed an 800 number. And I dialed into some reception desk. And I didn't hang up. Now, why wouldn't I hang up if I dialed into a wrong number? Why wouldn't any of us hang up? Why would we stay on the phone? I didn't hang up. And I dialed into an internet radio station 11 years ago. Now, no one was listening to the internet. There was no Skype. There was no Facebook. There was nothing. I think maybe we even still had dial phones. But I didn't hang up. So why didn't I hang up? So what I dialed into, and within 10 minutes, I bought my first hour of radio time, airtime. 10 minutes, I pulled out a credit card without having a whole big conversation about it, without knowing much about it, pulled out a credit card because I was in a moment of knowing and awareness. That's intuition. What happened after that? 3 months later, Seattle station offered me 5 days a week, whipped out my credit card again, and off I went to a place. And I think Steve Jobs says it really, really well. When he used to talk about having the courage to follow your intuition, follow your heart, and to somehow this thing we call intuition already knows. It knows what we truly want to become. It really does. There are many examples. Now, what separates intuition from reasoning? The time it takes to have a thought. That's what separates it. The time it takes to have a thought about something is enough to get in the way of what we're trying to be told, the level of energetic awareness. So this force, this energy field, this source, this God, when we say God is either everything or is nothing, God either is or isn't, that doesn't mean that that force doesn't live within us. So if it lives within us, how could this force create something so vast and amazing, and yet we are so quick to disclude ourselves, to self-eliminate from having any potentiality? I love the conversation about this. There's a movie coming out here. I think it's this weekend, actually. I'm really looking forward to it. And it's this notion from this woman, this Lucy, that supposedly ingests something that enables her to use close to 100% of her brain. And that 100% of her brain, according to this movie, is going to be what it takes for her to what? Have intuition. I don't think so. I think that we have this thing that guides us. It's a point of awareness. I honestly believe for myself that I learned that I was asking the wrong questions about my life and who I was. I was homeless at 17. And I remember sitting in the parking lot in New Jersey, Greenbrook, New Jersey. And I remember sitting in a parking lot with all my stuff, in my beater, my car, just kind of trashed back there. And I was under a light because I was afraid. And where am I going to go? And it was almost like a clip from the movie Psycho, right? If you remember the movie Psycho, the light is flashing and it's like a hotel. And I looked up long enough to look across the street, and it was the Greenbrook Motel. And why did I then know? And I knew this. I knew this in every cell of my body. This is what I knew. I knew, turn my car on. I barely had enough gas to get around Route 22 in New Jersey. and get over there to Greenbrook Motel. Why would I do that? And I walked in, and I was a mess. I was dirty, and I was crying. I didn't have a job. Here I was, and I walked in there, and I said to this guy at the desk, I said, I have no place to stay. No place to stay. And I said, I know I'm going to get this job with the phone company shortly, but I have no money. I was thrown out. I have no place to stay. This guy turned his back to me, and I thought, I'm doomed. I'm doomed. I'm going to be dead. Right? Dead. Turned around and gave me the keys for a room.
That's pretty amazing. That's a remarkable story. So you obviously were intuitively guided.
I think people call me lucky. That's okay.
That's okay.
I'm lucky.
Wow. Well, I want to hear more about that. And so I'm going to say to the viewing audience to don't go far, because we'll be back right after this commercial break with more of Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
Hi, my name is Dr. Tom Dow. We have a multidisciplinary practice in Melville and Ronkonkoma, New York, and we treat patients with many, many different conditions, from newborns through geriatric patients with numerous different techniques. There's a technique and a type of treatment for every class of patient. We have them all here. Here's my son Thomas, also a doctor of chiropractic, working on one of our patients' cervical spine. This patient has had chronic neck pain for many, many, many years, has been to a multitude of different practitioners with little or no response. And with our specialized techniques, she has improved tremendously and continues to improve on a daily basis. We have two practices, one in Melville and one in Ronkonkoma, New York. We are a multidiscipline chiropractic office. What that means is we have chiropractors, massage therapists, acupuncturists, psychologists, all working as a team and a network of outside professionals such as orthopedists and neurologists that we work hand in hand with to help determine what your injuries are and the best way to treat your injuries. I have the great pleasure of having my son in practice with me. We work hand in hand, father and son, to give our patients the best care possible, and a staff which is loving, caring, and you'll never have to wait at all in our office for service. Many times patients come into our office and they have what's called a soft tissue injury. Soft tissue injuries are like scars inside your body. If you've ever been cut on the outside of your body, you get a scar. The same thing happens inside of your body to your muscles and ligaments. So our job is to determine where those are, stretch the muscles, adjust the vertebra back into their correct position, and then refortify the normal structure with exercise. That's what we do best, and I hope someday you'll come see us at one of our two offices. Thank you.
I'm Erica Conway, and you're watching MadhouseTV.com.
peacefully, joyfully. I am divinely guided, peacefully, joyfully.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns. In the studio today, we have Reverend Sabra Mchunguzi, from Unity Church of Healing Light, and Reverend Margaret Palagye from Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center. I got it right finally. And with us on Skype from Seattle, Washington is Dr. Pat Basile, psychiatrist and the host of the Dr. Pat Show, talk radio to thrive by. So, I know you had some comments you wanted to make about what we spoke about earlier, so go for it.
Well, one of the things that I love talking about is, first of all, it's hard to even imagine how a girl that grew up in the Bronx, in the projects, climbing the monkey bars, is ending up on a TV show talking to you three amazing people. I think that in itself requires some kind of force other than me in this body. And I wanted to just talk about that for a minute. Somehow along the way, I discovered that I'm not guiding this ship. I'm not the driver here. But for a large part of my life, I thought I was. I thought it was the pilot, the co-pilot, the whole team. And I thought, I'm too cool to fool. I got everything going on for me. And, part of opening up to intuition, as we're calling it here, and I like to call it awareness. You see, we talk about the word awareness, and as if intuition is the dirty name for awareness. See, awareness is kind of cool to say, because we can all become aware, we can become conscious. But somehow, if we start to talk about intuition, especially, you ever been in a business room and start to talk about intuition? It's kind of like, oh man, now here she comes with that psychic stuff. That's a little bit over the top.
Oh.
But if we talk about awareness, right? He's shaking his head, he knows, right? But if we talk about intuition and awareness as being synonymous, then what are the questions that are going to help us get to that place quickly? So here's what I've discovered. When you were talking about spirit, when you were talking about God being above, below, within, what I'm really drawn to is the discovery in my own life about how absolutely true that is. And so long as the strength of my conviction and the belief that I have that which we believe is a source, a force, a God, that I got that inside of me, then what would get in the way of me living a life of awareness and intuition 24/7? And the only thing that gets in the way is me. I get in the way. Me with all of my beliefs, my limitation, what I cannot have, my brain gets going, all of that makes us crazy. So what if we were to stop and not ask, how do I solve this problem? How do I make myself well? What pizza should I pick today? What if we changed questions up and just said, you know what, God, you know what, source, what else is possible here? What else is possible? And in a nanosecond, I challenge anyone listening to this show, if you ask that question, you will hear within a second, not even more than that, your answer. You'll hear it. You may not like it. You may not like it. I mean, I've gotten some levels of awareness from that source, that voice, and I don't always like the answer. And it's because I'm being asked, and I think you all said, being pulled to a place in my life that I never thought was possible.
So you're saying you access your intuition by asking what else is possible. That's one of the key ways that you do it. Okay,
Absolutely.
fantastic. And
Absolutely.
Saba, how do you cultivate your intuition?
Well, part of it is being still
Okay.
and taking time throughout the day, not an hour or two necessarily, but just taking even a few moments to be still.
What does that look like, be still? You mean don't move your body?
Yes, that's part of it.
Part of it.
But the other thing too is to be still mentally,
Okay.
because you can be around a lot of people, in the midst of a lot of people, and still be still. You turn within and you focus your attention not on what's going on around you, but it may be a particular divine idea, maybe the idea of health or happiness, or you may just open yourself up to receive the Spirit of God, the movement of God. So in those times of stillness, that's when intuition comes through, and it enables you also to, when you go back into the world, to be open to receive that inspiration and that intuition, even though you may be doing things and talking and interacting, because you've taken that time to be still. And as you mentioned earlier about being in nature, being absorbed in nature, and being surrounded by nature, those kinds of things open you up to receive intuition at that moment, and at other times where you're in a hustle and bustle of things.
Right, of the everyday life.
Yes, everyday life.
So Dr. Pat, we do teach in New Thought that our direct inheritance from God are divine ideas. And so the one question you said is, what else is possible here, correct?
Yes.
Okay, what other questions do you pose to empower yourself, if you will, to experience greater intuition?
I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to try to make it as brief as I can. In 2004, my friend Bonnie and I were given a workshop on how to live your best dream. And by the end of the workshop, the ankle, the size of my foot, grew to the size of a grapefruit. And literally, they thought I had tripped. What I came to find out, I had a mystery disease. And that's what everybody wanted to call it. To this day, they still call it that. But one of the factors about this thing was that I could go to sleep at night and I would run the risk of not waking up. That's the kind of thing that was going on. And so I had to figure out what was going to happen to me at night when I went to bed. Was I going to pray about, oh, please bring this to... No. I love what you were talking about. At night when I went to bed, what I prayed for wasn't a prayer. It was a deep gratitude to say to God, look, thank you for tomorrow. Thank you for the day that I'm yet to have. Thank you for the life that I'm yet to have. And when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to ask you one question. What is mine to do today? That's my question. And I find out within a nanosecond what I am to do that day. Some day it's do the laundry. Some day it's go do a show. Some day it's create a new website. Some day it's go get your hair cut. Some days it's like, girl, get a shower. Whatever that is, that's what I got to do. But that's the way I'm learning. And I'm a student. I am a student. I'm learning that Source, God, is trying to get to us 24/7. And I have come to the point in my life where I am so tired of getting hit by the 2x4 that I am committed to learning some skills to listen better. Because I am not going to get another disease. I am not going to trip down and fall down on my face again. I'm not going to be homeless again. I don't want to do that. I bought the T-shirt and I burned the T-shirt. So how do I not do that again? I've got to pay attention. I've got to be aware and say, please, I'm here. My ears are really big. Just give me a little insight. That's intuition. When you open up enough in your heart, in your soul, in that level of consciousness and ask to be shown, the answers are already in front of you. We're just a little slow on the uptake. That's all.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, I'm looking at the clock and I see it's time for our last commercial break, albeit brief. I'm still excited to get back soon, so don't go too far. We'll be back with more of Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am.
YesWeCare.net is a 501c3 charity that provides help to veterans and their families. Please visit YesWeCare.net and donate in any way you can by purchasing our beautiful framed prints or relaxation CDs and DVDs, even smooth jazz CDs. YesWeCare.net. Remember, our troops are on their way home. They need all the support they can get. YesWeCare.net.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner.
No, that wasn't cool. Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns. We are filming live from the Madhouse TV studios in Deer Park, Long Island. In the studio with me is Reverend Saba Mchunguzi of the Unity Church of Healing Light. That's right over in Huntington on the North Shore of Long Island. In the studio, we have Margaret Palagye, and she is with the Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center. Whereabouts in New Jersey?
That's in Westmont, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, southern New Jersey.
Southern New Jersey. Okay. Very good. I'm a chaplain on Long Island. I serve people who call themselves spiritual but not religious and don't belong to a particular temple, house, or worship. So I do a lot of celebration of life memorial services, a lot of weddings. I do baby namings, and I do crisis work. I want to introduce us again to Dr. Pat Basile. Dr. Pat Basile is from Seattle, Washington. She's joining us on Skype, and she is the host of the Dr. Pat Show, where the talk radio to thrive by. She's also gotten together the Transformation Talk Radio, which I'm very impressed by that, because that's a conglomeration of people who help you to transform your life. That's fantastic. So welcome back to the show, Dr. Pat.
I love it. Thank you.
You're in for a treat, because right now Saba is going to bring us a very brief prayer on intuition. And the reason I emphasize brief, Dr. Pat, is because that we're all ministers, and when you ever give us an opportunity to pray, we just go off. So that's why I'm just couching it in brief. So let's just take a minute. Let's go within. If you choose to close your eyes, let's take a deep breath and take it away, Reverend Saba.
And let us indeed become still, and as we turn within, we open up ourselves to that divine presence, that divine essence, that divine spark of inspiration that is within us. We indeed open up ourselves to that intuition, that still small voice of God that is within us, that is always guiding us and protecting us and leading us and showing us the way. That intuition indeed that leads us to a life of health and a life of wholeness and a life of peace, a life of love, and a life of divine order. We align ourselves with this intuition and with all of the attributes of God, and we affirm that all is well and well indeed. This is the truth, and it cannot be otherwise, and so it is.
Amen.
So it is.
All right, Yahoo.
Woo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was great. All righty. You had a point you wanted to make about.
Well, Dr. Pat brought up, the knowing. And so for me, the knowing, like, what is that? Like the knowing. So the knowing, we talk about trust in a higher power. Mm-hmm. We talk about faith in this oneness, this unity of life. But when we get to that point of really knowing, that removes all traces of doubt. There is no doubt in knowing. So when we know that there is this power that is guiding us, that is for our highest good, and I like to say after affirmative prayer, this or something better, because the divine mind always has something better than we could ever imagine for ourselves. So we set our intention, we trust in this power for good, and we know that it works. And that knowing, it takes us to a whole depth of manifesting, if you will.
Fantastic, yeah. Fantastic,
Can
great.
I just add one point
Please
to that?
do, yes.
There's a lesson sermon that I did,
Yes.
and the title was, Did Jesus Have Faith?
Right.
And the idea is we always talk about having faith, and of course Jesus told us and taught us to have faith. But there's a place beyond faith, which is that knowingness, whereby you don't believe it's going to happen. You know that
Know
it is already. So you don't have to wonder. You don't have to, be still and hope and you know already that it's
You
yours,
know that
it's
you
co-
know that you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a level beyond faith and belief.
Yeah, it's
very
beyond faith and belief.
powerful.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, Dr. Pat, back to you. We have just a couple of minutes, but I know you had a couple of other points that you did want to bring up about intuition, so let's hear it, please.
I love what we're talking about, because one of the things I wanted to just mention to you is this idea that it's God through me, God through you without interruption. See, if God's through me and God's through you, just energy flowing through us all the time, and we can embrace God through me, God through you without interruption, the only interruption that would happen is up here. It would happen up here. And it's the minute that somebody gets in front of us that maybe says to us, you're not good enough. It's the time that you're sitting at the stoplight, right? And it's the light turns green, but you don't go, right? You don't go. Now, if you're in New York or you're in Manhattan and you're at a light and it turns green and you don't go, there's a lot of people not happy with you.
That's right.
Don't go. For some reason, because you knew somehow that guy that did not stop for the red light was going to cut through there. So you knew not to go. And this is what I want to say. I love, and I think Emma Curtis Hopkins says this, I love my perfect understanding of God. I love my perfect understanding of God. And when I first read that from her and the covenants, I thought, what is this woman talking about? And today I'm so thrilled that I get to live my life from the place of the journey, because I get to figure out for me how I can every day perfect that understanding of spirit and be guided without hesitation to that place where faith has no limitation.
Wow.
Really good.
That's deep, as they say. That's deep. That's fantastic. And so, I really would like to emphasize your idea of questioning, because I believe that questioning is a wonderful way that we can open and expand our consciousness. So let's just review for the studio audience, and maybe we can each add to it. So what I heard Dr. Pat say is that if you're in a situation, there's a quagmire, you don't know what's the next step, you ask yourself, which is you're asking your higher self, you ask your divine nature, what is possible here? What is possible here? Then I heard you say, Dr. Pat, that every day when you wake up, say to the universe, say to the God within you, what is mine to do today? And that you will be divinely guided and receive some ideas. And so I'm going to start with you, Dr. Pat, and go right around the circle here. And what is another question, Dr. Pat, that you would offer?
I think the question that I would offer is, and it's a question I use every day, and that is, please show me how I can serve the world better. Please show me how I can be of service to what you intended us to do. That's really my question. It's what Transformation Talk Radio was built upon. It's what we do now. We're adding 5 channels to it. But if it's not about service for me, if we're not creating a better place, if we're not doing something like that, then what am I doing? And that's really become a platform for me these days.
Right. Okay, fantastic. And what question would you offer? So we have the, how am I serving the wall? We have that from Dr. Pat. And what's a question you could offer?
Well, a question that I ask is, what do I need to release? What do I need to let go of in my consciousness, in my being, that's blocking my good? What do I need to let go? What old ideas or habits, whatever they may be, that I need to just let them go? Maybe they've outlived their usefulness. Maybe they never had any use. But so the idea of release and letting go, which relates to the idea of denial in New Thought as well.
Okay,
So that's
very good. And Margaret, tell us.
Yeah, it's always, how will you use me today? What is mine to do today? And and really, that's where the intuition comes in, because as the day proceeds, and that's, I like Ernest Holmes' quote, prayer without ceasing, because it's staying centered. And you know, we do things, we get involved in different activities in life, but then it's always remembering to go back to the connection. What is mine to do today? What is mine to do
Okay,
today?
well, yours are all very lofty. That's not really what I've been doing. I've been going through transition, change. I had two people that I love very dearly pass away. And so the questions that I've been asking myself is, how can I experience more ease and peace? I've asked the question Dr. Pat said, because that's my highest value, the highest rule I live my life is making a difference. But lately I've been focusing on ease. I just want ease and peace. God, how can I have more ease and peace? And I've done many things to create it. I've created more order in my home. I painted my home on the inside. I did things that would bring beauty and joy. And I've just really wanted to embody the qualities of spirit. And peace and joy and ease have been paramount to me, because I've been feeling a lot of sorrow. And I don't want to get enmeshed in it. I want to walk through it. So that's been my question.
And I think it's good, because each person has their own question, and each person has their own path that they have to lead. And my question doesn't have to be the same as yours, and yours doesn't have to be the same as mine. I mean, we can each be different and unique and still be spiritually grounded.
Fantastic.
And let me just add, the question can change each day.
And the question can change. Oh, absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Yes, the question can change each day. Okay, you know what? We just have a little bit of time left. Dr. Pat, 20, 30 seconds. You want to wrap something up for us?
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody in deep gratitude. And for me, it's just a matter of knowing that somehow today we've touched the lives of someone that doesn't think they're have a life worth living. And that's what I love about what you're doing. It's being able to help people rise up so that they can experience the fullness of God going through them and through the world.
Yeah. Fantastic. 20, 30 seconds.
Well, I'm glad that we had this opportunity to talk about intuition, because each person has that intuition within them, and each person can and needs to open themselves up to those divine ideas and that voice of God, their higher power. And as they open themselves up to it, then they will be more successful and lead more harmonious and healthy lives.
All right. 30 seconds.
I'm just grateful to be here among so many gorgeous, wonderful people with such high consciousness. It's so inspirational to me.
Excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you. Dr. Pat, thank you so much for joining us on Spirituality Rocks.
Thank you.
We look forward to having you again as one of our friends to the show, experts. I want to thank Reverend Saba from Unity Church of Healing Life over in Huntington, New York, Rev.Margaret Palagye from the Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center down in New Jersey. I want to tell you about upcoming shows. I am so excited. Next week we have Candace G. and Robert William Wheeler, author of The Money Nerve, Navigating the Emotions of Money. That is a great show. I've been reading the book, and it's hot, hot, hot. The following week, I'm really excited because our show is going international. We have Mr. 2020 from FreeNeville.com. If you have a chance to check it out. Free, F-R-E-E, Neville, Neville.com. He teaches the works of Neville Goddard. Fabulous, very excited. Mr. 2020 calls himself that because he's got lots of clarity. The following week, we have Terry McBride. Terry McBride wrote that book called The Hell I Can't. So we've got some great shows lined up. Thank you for joining us on SpiritualityRocksTV.com. Please tell your friends. Please like us on Facebook. And keep in mind, if you don't have time to watch the show, just turn it on in the background. Listen to it while you're cooking or cleaning or whatever you're doing. But I thank you so much for joining us. Everybody together, 1, 2, 3, all ready? Everybody, thank you for joining us on Spirituality Rocks!